It's the last day of February, but day number 3 of the 2025 MAC Swimming and Diving Championships from the Alumni Arena Natatorium. Hello, everybody. I'm Vinny Cristiano III alongside Michael Loss, and we have a big day 3 ahead, a fast-paced day at that. But yesterday, one of the most unique situations I think we will ever see in swimming. We had a tie in the most exciting race of the day, the 50 free, and I just want to start with that today, Michael, because that was remarkable.
Well, we throw the term making history around a lot, especially with how fast the sport of swimming has gotten. But we don't see a lot of what happened yesterday. Zita Zoki for Ohio and Ball State's Peyton Kelly tying for first. You can't write it any better. Today we get to keep the good times rolling with an expanded lineup of individual events that will certainly give us an idea of who might earn a first or second team All-MAC this season.
We are ready to start things off from the Dorsey Reynolds competition pool here in Amherst, New York. What a day it should be here in the third stanza of this week's championships. Thanks for joining us here on GetSomeAction.com and live on YouTube. It has been 2 action-packed days so far that has the Akron Zips in the lead of the standings so far. Yesterday, they did capture 2 individual A finals and a gold medal in the 400-meter medley relay. And we'll try again today. We are underway on day 3, and the first event of the afternoon will kick things off with the B final of the 100-yard butterfly.
And Vinny, keep in mind, while we are broadcasting at 6 p.m., they already got started early this morning. 2 pool records went down this morning, one of them being in this event. We'll see that in next heat when we see Clinton Marr for Akron take to the pool.
Addie Sonlin, the highest seeded swimmer, as they're on leg number 3. She's in lane 4 and right now in second place. It's Callie Parks, also from Akron, in the lead for the time being. She's up there in lane 6. Keep an eye on Ella Ziegert from Miami, Ohio. They're going to be neck and neck as they come back. In lane 2, Jordan Claypool with a chance. 54.33 for Claypool. And she's going to get the win for the Ohio Bobcats in the B final of the 100-yard butterfly.
And a great start to day 3 of the MAC Swim Championships for the Bobcats. The Bobcats came into today in the standings 3rd. They're going to need all they can to push for Akron, and Claypool had an amazing final leg here. As you take a look at the replay, that last half a length, she really put her head down and went.
She really did. She did have the fastest split of all 8 swimmers on that second leg. 28.68, lap number 2, and a final time of 54.33 to get the win. Just 300ths ahead of Callie Parks in lane 5, who went 54.36. And Addie Sonlin, 54.46, rounding out the top 3 of the 100 fly, the first event of day 3 of the 2025 Mid-American Conference Swimming and Diving Championships. And that will set finishing positions 9 through 16, and for positions 1 through 8, we will get a chance to see the parade of finalists here from the Alumni Arena Natatorium for the first time tonight. Fastest time of the A final seeded. To no one's surprise, probably, it's an Akron Zip. However, it is a freshman. Felicia Clinton Marr with a 52.4 seed time leads things off in terms of times. However, she, of course, not the only Zip in this race. We'll start things off, though, in lane number 1. Erin Skapashevitz from Miami, Ohio, 54.06, her seed time. Anna Keene from Ball State, another freshman. She'll be seated at 53.86 in lane number 2. Aslan Holder from Akron, the senior, with a 53.29 seed time, with Clinton Marr flanking her in lane 4. The freshman, as I mentioned, 52.4. Abby Daniel, the talented senior from Akron in lane 5. 3 zips in a row right in the middle of the pool. Daniel 52.65 in prelims this morning. Leah Evans from Toledo, the sophomore, with a 53.57 time. She'll be in lane 6. With Hannah Trainer, also out of Akron, the junior, in lane 7 with a time of 54.02 in prelims. And Nicole Aguilar, the junior from the Buffalo Bulls, 52.24, rounds out the field in lane 8.
And you can't talk about backstroke butterfly at the MAC Championships without talking about Abby Daniel. Abby Daniel, since 2023, has won every single butterfly-related event possible, except for the event that kicked off this year's MAC Championships. That 200 medley relay, she was the fly anchor. So that's including relays. Every time the butterfly is involved in the MAC Championships, it usually has Abby Daniel standing at the top podium.
Of the top times going into this morning's prelims, Daniel did have the fastest today, 51.88. Zita Zoki from Ohio had the second fastest time. We will not see her here in this final. Anna Keene from Ball State had the third fastest, with Clint Tamar from Akron having the fourth, and Ashlyn Holder from the Zips rounding out the top 5. And so most of those swimmers, aside of course from the very talented Zita Zoki, we will see in this final.
And obviously Zita Zoki is preparing for events that are coming later in today's championships, specifically the 200 free, but we'll get to that one in 1 second. What I'm really excited about this one, in lane 6, as they show her on camera right now, Leah Evans for Toledo, the sophomore. She's trying to be the first Toledo Rocket to win gold in any event since Christina Nowens won the 200 back in 2014. It's been a long time coming for the Rockets, and they're going to lean on Evans to be the girl that finally breaks that streak.
Yeah, Evans last year finished 9th in this event, so won the B final at the 2024 MAC Championships. She also finished pretty high in the B final in the 100 backstroke, which we will also see today, and she was 11th in the 200 fly. She was the anchor of both the 200 and 400 freestyle relays last year, but the Rockets finished 5th in both of those. 4 of her times already for the sophomore are top 10 in Toledo Rockets history. Her best time going into this week was 54.21. Evans again for Toledo, going to be in lane 6. Does the sophomore have anything for the freshman from Akron in lane 4? First one out of the water in lane 7, that's Hannah Trainer. Her underwater phase not as long as the rest, but she touches the far wall in second.
Gotta watch the underwaters on this one. Abby Daniel had a phenomenal underwater in the 400 medley relay like she had yesterday. I expect to see a similar thing as we see this last down and back.
She did it there. Now on stretch number 3, her underwater phase continuously longer than everyone else's. She has the lead as they go to the last turn. In second is Clinton Marr. And right now in third, Ashlyn Holder. Daniel in the lead. Clinton Marr closing. And Abby Daniel to the wall first. And it's going to be an Akron 1-2-3 finish. And a new pool record for Abby Daniel, 51.67, as she captures yet another gold medal.
Well, I'm glad the facility crew here at Alumni Arena didn't put Clinton Marr's time this morning as the pool record, because they would have to take it down pretty quickly. Some long, fast, efficient strokes from Abby Daniel is what kept her ahead that entire 100 yards.
Previously, the pool record was 52.42. That was set by Paulina Nogaj back in 2020. Daniel does hold the MAC record, or did hold the MAC record at 51.31, which she was just about 3.5 tenths or 35 hundredths, if you will, off of her previous best time. And she had a good half a second on Clinton Marr, who finishes second with a 52.3 second time. 52.69 for Holder as the Zips go 1-2-3. Anna Keene prevented Akron from going 1-2-3-4 as she slots into that 4th spot with a 53.64. Hannah Trainer in 5th, a 53.84. Skupashevitz from the Redhawks, 53.87 to finish 6th, with Evans from the Rockets, 54.1, and Aguilar from the Bulls, 54.45 to round out the A final field.
And what's very exciting for those 3 zips at the top of the scoreboard for the 100 fly is that all 3 of those times are an NCAA provisional B cut. We saw Abby Daniel compete in that event last NCAA championships, so we're going to see if those times are fast enough to make that B cut. Remember, a B cut is not guaranteed to compete at the NCAA championships, but a 54.67 should net Abby Daniel a spot come championship time.
A lot of the swimmers you'll see today will have their seasons continue at the zone championships, especially in the diving pool, and we will see some of the divers put scores forward towards that later in today's action. The second last event of the day, the 3-meter consolation diving finals, before we see the 3-meter finals happen tomorrow afternoon, and we will be live tomorrow for the last day of the championships at 5:45 as the Mid-American Conference will honor the seniors and present the Most Outstanding Senior Award to kick off the last day of competition. So just want to make sure that everyone's aware early and tunes in 15 minutes before we've gone live each day for what should be a very fun and well-earned ceremony of recognition for the seniors here in the MAC. Aguilar from the Bulls, the first one on the podium today, as she slots into that 8th spot. Buffalo right now finds themselves in 2nd spot in the standing, largely helped by Mari Kwok's diving on the 1-meter, and her victory in that performance puts Buffalo in a 2nd place, however closely contested, mind you, with Ohio and Miami, Ohio, who's right behind them, as plenty of opportunity for shakeups in the standings throughout the rest of the day.
Yeah, we looked at the standings going into today, and obviously we're not surprised to see Akron at number 1. Buffalo did get that push because of Mari Kwok in the 1-meter dive, and we expect to see a similar thing come Saturday in the 3-meter. But the Ohio Bobcats came in today in 3rd place, and going by seed time, they're projected to have the fastest seed time in 3 out of the 6 events today. This is a pivotal day for the Bobcats.
Commissioner Steinbrecher from the Mid-American Conference handing out today's first events awards. And Aslan Holden receives the bronze from the MAC Commissioner, who's here taking in today's festivities. And a proud smile he has on his face for what's already been put on here today. And we're going to see a couple more of those records, that not only pool records, but a couple of MAC records in danger to fall here later today as well.
I think Dr. Steinbrecher is in for a phenomenal day of swimming, especially at the individual level. But don't forget, we have a very exciting relay to cap off today. The 200 free relay is going to be one of those blink of an eye and you miss it events. So Dr. Steinbrecher's got a lot of hardware to hand out today.
Abby Daniel, 7 gold medals last year, and I believe already up to 3 now here in the 2025 MAC Championships. So event number 1 concludes with the Zips taking all 3 medal positions, and they have certainly earned them, and that's going to give them definitely a pretty solid buffer in the standings, which we will get a chance to update more solidly after the conclusion of tonight's competition. In the interest of being at least a little bit more specific, the standings after the conclusion of everything yesterday had Buffalo at 228 behind Akron's 264, Ohio with 215.5, and Miami, Ohio just 9.5 points behind them, because of that tie with Ball State, who slots in right now in that 5th spot. And I apologize, I already used up all my math with that 100th point that I used earlier. But ultimately, that split and that co-championship in the 50 free, again, takes the words out of my mouth sometimes with how neat that was to see. Underway now with the 400-yard individual medley. The B final sees Ashley Seago from Miami, Ohio in lane 1. McKenna Pottinger in lane 2. Melissa Blaine will be in lane 3 with Callie Tuma, the highest seeded swimmer from Ball State, in lane 4 with a 4:24.75 seed time. Karen Austin from Buffalo in lane 5. Morgan Hoffmeister from Eastern Michigan with a time of 4:30.21 for the sophomore. Madison Bond in lane 7 from Bowling Green, flanked by her teammate Grace Perlberg with a 4:32.88 time to round out the B final here of the 400 IM.
You know, it's pretty funny, Vinny. We just did a lot of talking about the Akron Zips, and rightfully so for the performance they just had at the 100 fly. But what's interesting, and I don't mean to spoil the lane assignments for the final we're about to see after this, but there's not a single Akron Zip in the top 16 of this event. A rare event where we're not going to call a single Akron Zip swimming over this heat and the next.
The Ohio Bobcats do have a propensity for success in these medleys. And we will see 4 Bobcats in the A final. Only one of them, that's Melissa Blaine in lane 3 here in the consolation final. Right now, lanes 2 and 4 have the advantage, and that's both Ball State swimmers, Pottinger and Tuma from the Cardinals, currently in the lead right now as they head to the wall midway through the backstroke.
Gutsy performance so far by McKenna Pottinger at Ball State. She's not taking it out too hard, but she's maintaining that pace through her long, efficient strokes in the backstroke. Most IMers tend to die out after this leg, though, so I'm curious to see how she follows up with breaststroke, which isn't about raw power, it's more about timing. But she has a huge lead as we near the end of halfway through this individual medley.
Her lead is indeed by about 2 body lengths right now as she heads to the wall. She gets the touch, and now she will head to the breaststroke.
I'll say it again, Vinny, the breaststroke is not about how much power you put into your strokes, but the correct timing of it. The timing between the way you scoop your arms up and shrug your shoulders is super important, especially for these walls. You want to make sure you're not floating these walls, and a good underwater pull down will set you up for that timing. So what Pottinger's doing right now is keeping that pace and making sure her whole body is a click in sync, like a clock.
Pottinger's still with the lead, but it is shrinking a little bit. Her strength is not the butterfly, it's the freestyle, which will be the last leg. Still more fly left to go. Meanwhile, Callie Tuma has closed the gap. The junior from Naperville, Illinois, has 4 top 10 times in program history. She won the gold in the 1650 free last year, and known for the distance events right now, she is currently in the 2nd place spot as we have the last turn of the breaststroke leg before they get into the freestyle. Meanwhile, don't look now, but Buffalo's Karen Austin has closed the gap right now. She's making a move for 2nd place.
Yeah, Pottinger seems to be falling behind. Even Seago from Miami, Ohio seems to be pulling ahead on this pivotal breaststroke leg. But like you said, Vinny, it's all about what you have left for that last all-out 100-yard sprint. These are some tired swimmers. The arms are heavy, the feet are heavy, but it's all about who wants it more at this stage of the IM.
3.5 legs left. Karen Austin, the junior from Southfield, Michigan, finished 6th in this event last year. Right now, the highest she can finish is 9th, but she's battling to do so. Melissa Blaine from Ohio, meanwhile, pulling her way ahead. And in lane number 1 right now, Ashley Seago from Miami, Ohio, as she makes the 2nd last turn, has put herself into the lead.
Well, Seago's going to need a big turn here if she's going to want to beat Tuma. It's very difficult racing from the outside, but if she can get a great underwater here, it's just 25 yards to the wall.
Big kick as Tuma stretches ahead. She's in the lead. Seago's in 2nd. Fastest split that time around belonged to Melissa Blaine. But is she going to have enough? It doesn't look like it. In lane number 4, the swimmer from Ball State touches first. Callie Tuma able to garner the victory in the B final of the 400 IM. And what a performance it was. She crosses at 4:24.76, and her split on the last leg of the freestyle, the fastest of all 8 swimmers in competition.
The 400 individual medley rewards the smartest racers. And what Tuba just did there was a textbook example of how to manage this event. She didn't get too ahead of herself when other swimmers like Pottinger came ahead after that backstroke leg, mind you, and she was able to pull together a very strong breaststroke and just had enough left in the tank for that last 50 to really solidify that win.
You saw there on the replay how her kick at the end put her back in a comfortable lead after that breaststroke leg, was able to pull some of the competitors back with her, and now, as we know, again, positions 9 through 16. Swimmers seated 1 through 8, ready to make their way to the blocks as we're ready for our second parade of finalists here today. Pool record in the 400-yard individual medley, 4:14.40, set up by Brittany Beecher back on February 28th, 2020, so 5 years ago today. Beecher, the Buffalo Bulls swimmer, also keeping a keen eye on her record inside this pool. That was set half a decade ago, is now the top 8 swimmers out onto the deck. I love the personality that everyone gets to show here. You got a caution vest for Bowling Green's Ava Vial, and in lanes 1 and 5, the Buffalo Bulls have the appropriate headgear on that unfortunately they'll have to remove, but aerodynamically I don't think that would fit.
Won't work well as a cap, Vinny, no.
No, cap's there for a reason, and now the Bulls keep the logo on the head just in a different way as they move their way back to the blocks. As we are ready for the championship final of the second swimming event of the day. MAC record 4:05.84, Nicole Mayer in 2023. And the championship record, 3 seconds slower than that, also set by Mayer a year earlier in 2022. Elise McCall from the Buffalo Bulls, the junior, seated 4:24.13, will be in lane number 1. She'll be flanked by another junior, this one from the Ohio Bobcats, seated 4:23.59. Morgan Brown will be in the second lane, one of 4 Ohio Bobcats in this race. Ava Vial, the grad student from Port Williams, Nova Scotia for Bowling Green, has finished in the top 16 in this event each of the last 4 years. She's seated 3rd right now, 4:23.43, her qualifying time. The fastest qualified swimmer is a senior, also from Ohio, 4:19.14 for Gabby McGee. Next to her, the second Buffalo Bull in this race and another freshman, the only one in this A final. Bella Forsman came into today with a 4:20.30 best time of the season. 4:21.80 is how she is seated. The third of 4 Ohio swimmers, a junior, with a time of 4:23.58 in prelims. Emily Ellsworth will be in lane 6. Next to her, the first Ball State Cardinal in the A final with a 4:23.86, and the holder of the school record in this race, sophomore Alexa Von Holtz in lane 7. And last but not least, another Ohio Bobcat, 4:24.63, the prelim time for Raph Anglade, the senior from the Ohio Bobcats. half the swimmers from Ohio, the other half trying to keep them off the medal spots. .400 yards to go in the individual medley. Quickly out to the lead is Forsman in the butterfly leg.
And don't forget, Vinny, this 400 IM final has some fascinating storylines. VL could be the first Bowling Green Falcon to win gold in an event since 2022. Anglade over in lane 8 disqualified in this event last championships, and Gabby McKee is the fastest remaining swimmer from the last championships, but she was also the fastest remaining swimmer in yesterday's 500 free, and she wasn't able to take home gold in that event. Elise McCall in Buffalo dropped almost 4 seconds in her prelims to make the finals in this event. Some fascinating storylines, and whoever wins is going to be very well deserving.
Still in the lead right now is Forsman. Known most likely as a butterfly swimmer, she won the Colorado CHSAA State Championships last year with a 54.81 in that race in the 100 fly. This year, her best 100 fly time going into the prelims today was a 57.37 in that event. Here in the medley, not racing that 100 fly. Here she is in the medley, out in the lead still, as we are now in that second leg of the backstroke.
And what I like so far about Forsman's stroke is she's really using her legs to gain power. Her arms aren't moving at a super fast rate because she knows she's going to need that arm strength to be able to hit her timing in the breaststroke leg. So she's letting her legs carry her through this backstroke leg. And we're going to be a bit of a broken record about anything medley relay related, but that breaststroke leg is going to be make or break. But I like Forsman's start right now to have a lead going into that segment.
Right now, keep an eye on VL in lane 3. She's 6th as they make the turn to go to the last leg of the backstroke. She is a breaststroke swimmer and one of the better consistent IM swimmers in the conference. Her 100 and 200 breaststroke times right now, some of the top in this Falcons program and tops in the MAC. Also, something interesting about Ava Vial, her father Dennis played 8 seasons in the NHL. Her cousin Drake Batherson plays for the Ottawa Senators, actually. A little bit of an interesting tidbit for Ava Fial. This water not frozen, very much in liquid form. It's a lot warmer it is in here than it is at an ice rink. As they, on the second leg of the breaststroke here, see VL close the gap a little bit to the leaders, and Forsman has her gap tightened as well, as in lane 4, Gabby McKee is right even with her as they go to the second half of the breaststroke legs.
I wouldn't be surprised if VL has another phenomenal underwater. Look how far she's going to go underwater here. She's going to come up so much later than the other swimmers because she knows she can use her timing and her breaststroke pushes to get her to the wall. Forsman's staying strong here, but there's some competition around her. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ellsworth from the Bobcats make a push here in this final leg.
Yeah, Ellsworth has made her way up even with McKee, and the two Bobcats right now flanking the Buffalo Bull in the middle of the pool.
Look at the ground that VL has caught up. She was almost 2 lengths behind at the end of the backstroke. Yeah, she's earned the right to be in this last sprint.
She's closely in 4th now as we go to the freestyle legs. 100 meters to go here as Forsman tries to fight off McKee and Ellsworth. Ellsworth, the junior, finished 7th in the 200 breaststroke last year and finished 4th in this race last season as well. That breaststroker has used that leg to now put herself in the league after that turn. 50 yards to go. She's in the lead with the feet at the turn.
Yeah, McKee's taking the lead coming into this last 50. Forsman's going to need a phenomenal wall here if she wants to catch McKee.
McKee, first team All-MAC. And last year just 10th in this race. Right now in the lead, halfway to the other side of the pool. Forsman trying to fight back, and Vial, mind you, right now trying to get a medal as she looks to clamor for the 3rd spot, but in the wall first will be Gabby McKee from Ohio. 4:16.17 for her. Forsman touches 2nd for silver, and Ellsworth rounds it out for 3rd with a 4:19.50 time as the Bobcats finish 1-3 in the 400 IM.
A phenomenal performance for the senior versus freshman battle between Forsman and McKee. But what the difference maker was going into that last 50, Forsman came up from her underwater first. Look at the replay here. You're going to watch. McKee's going to stay underwater longer than Forsman does, and that ended up being the difference maker for Gabby McKee.
Also, just something to keep in mind, again, here's Vial right at the bottom of your screen in that orange cap for Bowling Green, and she was in 7th and then a distant 6th as they got to the breaststroke leg. She ends up 4th here, and ultimately a great stretch from her to put the Falcons just outside the medals. And meanwhile, of course, the Bobcats, with 4 swimmers in that race, are able to put, of the 4, 2 of them in the medal spots. And then finishing just outside the medals, Morgan Brown in 5th with a time of 4:22.38. McCall from Buffalo in 6th. Van Holtz from Ball State 7th. And Raf Anglade from Ohio ends things 8th with a time of 4:28.94.
I'm not sure if you heard it, Vinny, but the UB crowd behind us was breaking out in a "she's a freshman" chant when discussing Bella Forsman. She's going to be back in this position.
She certainly is, and like we mentioned, a state champion in Colorado in the event, so someone who knows how to win it, and here was in the winning spot until, quite frankly, that second to last leg, when ultimately McKee, who is a senior, able to catch and make the pass, but an impressive showing from Forsman, who maybe put her name on the map a little bit here in the first opportunity she had to do so in the 400 IM in the MAC championships.
And McKee deserves all the flowers. Her experience is what won her this race. Forsman did everything right except for that last turn. And I think Gabby McKee's experience as a senior was really the difference maker.
2 wins so far today for Ohio, 1 in the B final. That was the 100-yard butterfly. And McKee getting the first gold medal of the day for the Bobcats. McKee, like we mentioned, was a first-team All-MAC selection last year. She finished in the bronze position of this race just a year ago. And so now 2 medals in the 400 IM for the senior from Gilbertsville, Pennsylvania, who, quite frankly, has top times on the team in 3 different events. Her freestyle time, her butterfly time, and her IM time are top 3 on the Bobcats roster going into the prelims this morning. Raf Anglade finishes in 8th. She will get the 8th spot on the podium.
Good redemption for Anglade. She DQ'd in this race last championship, so good to see her make that appearance on the podium this time around.
Alexa Von Holtz, another young swimmer who will very likely be back in this position, just a sophomore from Mexico. She had 7 individual wins this year going into this week's events, and 16 wins in 2024 in her freshman campaign. She was one of those swimmers that went on to swim at the CSCAAs last year. Vial heading to the podium here for Bowling Green, getting a loud round of applause from the Falcons fans sitting just in front of us here. Ellsworth improves her season best time by quite a large margin here. She came into the prelims 4:22.81, gets the bronze with a time of 4:19.50. Bella Forsman does something similar, 4:20.30, her best time in this event. She knocks it down to 4:16.6 to get herself a silver medal. What a race from the freshman. And yet an even better one from the senior from Ohio. Gabby McKee sits atop the podium, 4:16.17. And again, another time good enough for an NCAA B qualifier.
And Gabby McKee's smile tells you all you need to know about that race. She came into yesterday's 500 free as the fastest remaining swimmer from last year's championship, and she was the fastest seed, but it was El Couture who took that championship from her yesterday. A similar situation today. She comes in as the fastest seed, but this time she defends that seed time. Great to see her be #1 on the podium after yesterday's 500 freestyle.
Some friendly smiles and compliments exchanged on the top of the podium. Always interesting to see how some of the swimmers who maybe have a larger break able to take the cap off. Others like Forsman who might be getting ready to get right back going here, keep theirs on. As we get ready to continue individual events with the 200-yard freestyle next up on the card. The B final. We'll see a pool record of 1:45.96 in jeopardy, especially in that A final, because Zita Zoki, again, in the pool for the Ohio Bobcats. She is in the back ready for the parade of finalists here as we see the B finalists introduced here inside the Dorsey Reynolds competition pool at Alumni Arena and Auditorium. Abby Gardner from Buffalo, the sophomore, seated at 151 flat. Rosie Richards, the freshman from Toledo, seated at 150.86. Katie Broker, the sophomore from Ohio, 150.68. A little bit of a trend here with some of those young swimmers in the early lanes. Julia Wachter from Miami, Ohio, 150.43. Dominica Casacausa in 5th. She'll be flanked by Janny Slaggers from Toledo, the junior with a 150.84 time. Abby Malmstrom and Anna McGrath round things out in lanes 7 and 8 for Buffalo and Ohio.
Well, Vinny, what's really excited about this year's 200-yard freestyle is that I think we're looking at the future of the Mid-American Conference. There's 6 underclassmen that made the top 16 in this event, 3 of which we're going to see in the finals. But when we look at who they are, we see some of the highlight swimmers that are going to carry some of these programs. We're going to see Kaylin Herbert from Miami, Ohio. As you mentioned, Zita Zoki. In the water right now, Rosie Richards, the freshman from Farnham, England, for Toledo. Abby Gardner from Buffalo's in, and Lalkovich for Akron. Those are some impactful underclassmen that are probably going to continue to be in this event and plenty of others in the future Mid-American Conference Championships.
We are 100 through, and right now it's Casacausa in lane 5 with the advantage. The Akron Zip right now is about an arm's length advantage over Slaggers in lane 6 from Toledo.
And Casacausa knows she needs to win that middle 100. If we're going to take a 50 and a 50 at the back, that middle 100 is where these 200 free races are truly won.
50 to go as they make the turn. Good split there from Casacausa, the fastest in the pool, 27.86. She touched at 1:20.17. Leads at the wall. She makes the turn. Still in second is Slaggers. Janice Slaggers trying to hold off Wachter in lane number 4, but it's going to be Casacausa touching the wall first in lane 5, 1:47.97. Wachter makes the pass to finish second for the Redhawks, 1:49.49, and Janice Slaggers for Toledo finishes third, 1:49.76. The junior out of Westerhoven, Netherlands, finished 14th in this event last year, improves her position by a couple, and puts herself in the top 3 of the B final as we take another look at the replay of Casacausa's relatively comfortable finish. And again, good splits on the latter half of the race, showing just how much juice she was ultimately able to save for those last 2 important legs.
Well, something that has to be mentioned is that for the B and A final in the 200-yard free this year, the 6th place time through the 14th place time were only separated by about 1 second. So it's obvious that Casacausa could have belonged in that A final, but unfortunately a prelim time this morning where she gained almost 2.5 seconds is the reason why she's competing in the B final and not the parade we're about to see.
The parade of finalists for the 200-yard freestyle. Top 10 times going into the prelims this morning. Zita Zoki from Ohio, Peyton Kelly from Ball State, Those are two names you've already heard multiple times. Kasakausa, like you just mentioned, Michael, the third best time. Herbert, Couture, Richards, Laukovic, Nacarella, Bosley, and Gardner, with 3 Buffalo Bulls rounding out the top 10. Here in today's A final, we will see just 1 Buffalo Bull. That's going to be Sawyer Bosley in lane 7, but we will see 3 Akron Zips, 2 Ohio Bobcats competing in today's A final.
And what I think shows you the absolute depth of this event that we're about to see, Vinny, is that the 2022 champ of this was Sawyer Bosley, who's only going to be in lane 6 when we get a look at the assignments. That's impressive for someone that has won this event before to only be in lane 6, so I wouldn't count her out in this event.
Nor would I, as you take a look at the lane assignments for the 200-yard free, and it'll start things off. Julia Mauder from Akron, the senior, with a time of 1:50.14 in prelims this morning. Peyton Kelly from Ball State, the junior, in lane 2, 1:48.87. That is always fun to hear. I wanted to pause for a second to hear the MAC champion in the 50 free announced here inside the natatorium. Kaylin Herbett from Miami, the sophomore, 1:58.54, runner-up in the 200 IM last night. She will be next to Zita Zoki, the sophomore, broke the pool record in the prelims this morning, and again, a MAC champion from just a day ago in the 50 free.
Deja vu.
Big cheer for Zita Zoki, and she certainly has earned it. Zoki, the Hodemeza Harvey Hungary native, won gold at this event last year. She'll be flanked by her teammate, the grad student from Lansdale, Pennsylvania, Caroline Dunnigan. She was 6th in this event back in 22, but did not place inside the top 8 either of the last 2 years. Ada Swabinska from Akron will be in lane 6, the second of 3 Akron Zips. And again, like you mentioned, Bosley from Buffalo will be in lane 7, and Sawyer Bosley, time of 1:50.04 for the senior in prelims this morning. And lastly, in lane 8, Helena Laukovic, the freshman from Akron. And so even with all those youngsters in that B final, a lot of young, talented swimmers in the A final tonight as well. And I think this is going to be an event that's got some up-and-coming talent in it for quite a few years. And ultimately, you can really be up-and-coming talent if you're competing in the A final with an opportunity for a gold medal.
Yeah, this one's the future of the MAC. For everyone watching, get used to these names.
Sometimes uppercomers, some of them are already here. Last year's champion and already a gold medalist in these 2025 MAC Swimming and Diving Championships in lane 4. That's Zita Zoki. And she's one of those swimmers that I don't know if she was ever up and coming. I think she got here and has been here ever since. She has the lead after the first 50.
And if I'm Zita Zoki, I'm looking over at lane 2 and Peyton Kelly, and I'm saying, stay away from me. It's not likely that we see another tie between Zoki and Kelly, but after last night, anything's possible, even in the 200 free.
Zoki leads again after the first 150. In third right now, Caroline Dunnigan in lane 5. Kelly holds on to that second spot for the time being as we are halfway through.
This is the most important 50 of them all. If you can hold your pace or even get a negative split, you're in great shape for the finish. Zoki's going to have an impressive underwater here, and that's going to set her up for an impressive last 50.
2 body lengths is the lead for Zita Zoki. And there is going to be 50 yards left for the sophomore from Hungary. Can anyone make a push? Right now, you can throw a blanket over positions 2 through 7. Everyone's within an arm's length of each other as they go into the final turn. Zoki gets back out of the water on the turn before anyone went back onto the other way. Kelly inching ahead in lane 2, but in lane 4, Zita Zoki now stands atop the podium herself, a gold medal, 144.74 in the 200 free. And for Zita Zoki, 144.74. That's going to be another new pool record and a new MAC championship record. She breaks the one set by Goreka Veronica back in 2023. And another impressive showing from the sophomore.
And what I don't want to lose on this, looking over in lane 2, Kelly Payton. Kelly Payton was not in a good position to finish second. Kaylin Herbert had her going into the last 25, but Kelly Payton made a phenomenal push right there to end it.
Yeah, Kelly indeed finishing 147.27. And that spot second with her bet finishing 147.84. And another one of those most anticipated events of the week certainly paid off. And Zita Zoki putting on another show, and her name will be etched in the MAC record books once again as she knocks down not only a pool record but a record at the MAC championships, just a hair off of the overall MAC record time set by Nicole Mayer.
And Zita Zoki was the Ohio Bobcats' first NCAA qualifier since 2014. So you know there's an expectation coming off of a season like that to perform so close to that MAC record, but that MAC record was set at an NCAA qualifier, which I wouldn't be surprised if we see Zoki compete at this season.
Indeed, nor would I, as those swimmers take their time to get out of the pool here and work their way over to the medal presentation area and the podium, where throughout the course of today, Commissioner Steinbrecher is here to present the medals for today's winners and welcome everyone to the podium. Julia Motter from Akron, ending in the 8th spot. Sawyer Bosley finishes in her seed as well. She'll be 7th. Elena Lalkovich jumps from 8th to 6th to put herself in that spot with a 148.81. Adriana Sobinska from Akron is the 3rd zip to be named here in the 200 free results. Sobinska with a time of 148.78. With Caroline Dunnigan, the Ohio Bobcat, just outside the medal at the time of 148.14.
And that's a huge 4th place finish for the Ohio Bobcats. I said at the top of the show that the Ohio Bobcats are seeded first in 3 different events. This was one of those events, but what's super important is that both Bobcats finished above every single Akron zip in this event. That's going to be huge for points and seeding down the line.
Kaylin Herbett's the sophomore from Winter Springs, Florida. Another bronze for the Red Hawks. An All-MAC 2nd teamer last year, has definitely earned all-conference looks again here in 2025. Finished 5th in this event a year ago, improved her position by 2, and was the first MAC Swim of the Week awarded in the 2024-2025 campaign. Her best time in this race, 148.84, gets improved by exactly a second, 147.84. large round of applause for Zita Zoki, with Peyton Kelly maybe feigning surprise at the MAC championship record. And the two of them who shared the top of the podium today, as Kelly elatedly escorts Zoki up to the top of the podium. And she receives a well-earned gold medal from Commissioner Steinbrecher.
And Zita Zoki won our first event of the MAC Championships, taking home gold in the 200 medley relay with the Bobcats. But even though it was an individual event she won yesterday, this is the first time she got to have the podium to herself.
The top of the podium didn't last all that long for Zoki, as she's now joined by her other medal-winning finishers to have the group picture taken with Peyton Kelly and Kaylin Herbett. Zoki finishing well over a second, almost two, faster than Peyton Kelly in that race. And her explosiveness on display yet again. And Zoki will have her two best events now already on display, but ultimately still a couple more opportunities to see her, as tonight we will of course likely see her in the 200 freestyle relay, where the Bobcats will look to add another gold medal in relays after opening the meet, doing so winning the first of this week's events.
And I'm going to keep talking about the three events that the Ohio Bobcats really need to medal in. And what's funny enough is that they're all three in a row. The 100 breaststroke that we're watching the B final of now, Ohio's also projected to finish very strong in.
So another quick race, the 100 breaststroke in the water. Laura Wright in lane 1 for Ball State, flanked by her teammate Julia Offman. Abby Zadorsky from Eastern Michigan in lane 3. Nina La Rosa from Eastern Michigan will be in lane 4. Ava Pauley will be in lane 5 of the B final here for Buffalo. Akron's Kendall Craig in lane 6. Grace Perlberg in lane 7. And Ava Vial from Bowling Green State University in lane 8.
Very short rest for Ava Vial, but she's pacing well all the way in lane 8. I do want to see how Ava Pauley from Buffalo continues this pace, but as you'll see next to her, there's two Eastern Michigan Eagles that are looking to make a push at her pace coming into this last 25.
Right now, it's Craig with the lead. In second at the wall is Zadorsky from Eastern Michigan. Two Eagles swimmers right now vying for spots in the top 3 of the B final. Is La Rosa going to be able to make the pass on Craig at the wall? Who touches first? 102.75, 102.62. La Rosa able to get the win, and Eastern Michigan and the Eagles have their first victory in the B final. Nina La Rosa crosses 102.62. Craig for Akron finishes 102.75 for the second spot, and 103.05 with Abby Zadorsky rounding out the top 3 spots.
And I gotta say, a very underrated crowd here from the Eastern Michigan Eagles. I don't know if you could see the way they were on the sideline there, but they were getting excited for the two Eagles that made this final. You love to see your teammates get excited for whatever race you're in. Two phenomenal finishes for both Eastern Michigan Eagles in Zadorsky and La Rosa.
Pool record of 1 minute and 32 hundredths set by Paula Garcia back in 2020. That pool record in jeopardy here today. A MAC record of 57.83 and the championship record of 58.25, both set by Delaney Duncan. The B qualifying time 101.84 also to watch out for as the A finalists take the deck. Akron fans with the UA chant kicking things off as the finalists for the 100-yard breaststroke on the deck here inside the Alumni Arena and Auditorium. Edie Sawyer, the senior from Ohio, with a 7th place finish in this event last year, seated at 102.74. Emma Schuler, the senior from Miami, Ohio, 101.96, broke 2 for the first time this morning. The senior from Upper Arlington, Ohio, finished 8th in this event last year. Claire Cox from Akron, the sophomore, with a 101.31 seed time. She will be in lane 3.
And don't forget, Vinny, Claire Cox has a very important role for the Zips here. There's 3 Ohio Bobcats in this B final, in this A final, so she's really going to need to step up for the Zips.
Cassidy DeBetta, the junior from St. Clairsville, Ohio, won this event last year at the MAC Championships, as well as winning the 200 breaststroke. Her best time going into today, 1 minute 66, 1 minute .29 seconds is her seed time today. A junior from Ohio, highest seeded swimmer today. Julia Strine will be in lane 5. The senior from the Ohio Bobcats, right next to her teammate, 182 for Strine, with the sophomore from Miami, Ohio, Natalie Gilson in lane 6 with a 101.45 seed time. Gilson, the sophomore from Cumming, Georgia, 101.99, her best time this event going into the prelims today. Able to beat that by half a second in the prelims. Grace Ryder from Buffalo, the lone bull in the final of the 100 breaststroke, 102.23, the seed time for the sophomore. With Maddie Bosler, the freshman from Akron, 102.83 in lane 8. In less than 60 seconds, we will have a gold medalist in the 2025 MAC Swimming and Diving Championships of the 100-yard breaststroke. At the wall, it was close, and right now it seems like it's the favorite Cassidy DeBetta in the lead.
What's super exciting about the breaststroke is your ability to have that underwater pullout. It lets you gain some early momentum before you even break the surface for your first stroke. Look at Cassidy DeBetta. She is the gold standard of breaststroke in the Mid-American Conference. Her shoulders are going to reach such a high peak, but she's effortlessly going to be able to reset. Her biggest competition seems to be her teammate in Julia Strine. This last pullout is going to be massive.
At the wall, DeBetta, Strine, and Claire Cox, the top 3. Cox in lane 3, making a push here. 10 yards to go. DeBetta in the lead. Ohio, another gold medal. And she will be joined by her teammate, Julia Strine, who takes silver. Claire Cox touches for bronze. And a sub 1 minute time for Cassidy DeBetta. She's able to break the pool record and, of course, solidifies her already impressive time for the NCAA-B qualifiers. And Cassidy DeBetta will have a gold medal again for the Ohio Bobcats. And like you mentioned, Michael, these were events that the Bobcats had good swimmers in. For the standings, they needed it, and you got it from your best swimmers.
And it's always exciting to hit sub 60 in the 100 breast, but it's even more exciting to hit sub 60 in this fashion. Look at the way she pulls away on these last 3 strokes. She knows the exact amount of strokes she needs so she can take that perfect final glide into the wall. What an absolutely beast final 25 by Cassidy DeBetta. And like I said, that's 3 straight for the Bobcats. This was a pivotal moment in the MAC championships for Ohio.
And the Bobcats also will garner a silver medal in this event with Julia Strine, and the 7th place spot with Edie Sawyer, who beats out Madeline Bosler from Akron for that penultimate position here in the 100-yard breaststroke. Akron's Claire Cox, though, does get a bronze for the Zips. In the last swimmer to go sub 101, Natalie Gilson and Emma Schuler from Miami, Ohio, finishing 4th and 5th with a 101.59 and 102.09 time, respectively, with Grace Ryder in the 6th spot. Buffalo Bulls swimmer, 102.4. And some celebrations happening here with the Ohio Bobcats and their coaching staff. And well-earned celebrations at that. Because now back-to-back gold medalists for their 2 swimmers. And head coach Mason Norman in his 7th season with the Bobcats, looking to put them a spot ahead of where they finished last year, where they ended up 3rd at the end of the week in the team totals. That was their highest finish since 2013, and also 3 swimmers for the Bobcats were named to the All-MAC first team at the conclusion of the MAC championships last season, with 1 All-MAC second teamer. And an opportunity to do even more than that, because now you're going to see Cassie DeBetta put herself in that conversation for All-MAC honors.
I'm glad you used the word opportunity there, Bernie. If you haven't seen it, the Ohio Bobcats have been walking around the pool during warm-ups with the word opportunity on them, with a big O standing for Ohio. And that's exactly what they have at the 2025 MAC championships. They have an opportunity. Everyone's chasing Akron, so you have to have that challenger's mentality. The only way they're going to take down the champs is with the right opportunity, and they certainly took advantage of this one.
That's a great slogan. That gave me chills. I'm fired up now. As I have noticed it, but ultimately just leaning into that a little bit has helped Ohio and will help me get some juice, I think, a little bit here, because not that I needed it, but ultimately that is a proven motivator here for the Bobcats, who continue to churn out results here in the 2025 Mid-American Conference Swimming and Diving Championships. And looking at how the rest of this meet will shake out, is now we're past the halfway point. They've got opportunities here to do some serious scoring. The prelim top 20s that I talked about, they had the 3rd most swimmers across the board behind Akron and Miami, Ohio across the next 2 days, but overall, they placed 44 student athletes inside the MAC top 20 times and scores going into the MAC championships, which is 2nd behind only the Akron Zips, and they're 25, or 2nd behind, I should say 3rd behind Miami, Ohio, who had 69 of those as well, just 10 behind Akron. But the rest of the week, they have among the top competitors in a couple of events, and right now this is their strongest stretch.
Yeah, and the rest of today is going to be massive for the Ohio Bobcats. When we take a look at the updated standings, they have pulled ahead of Buffalo for that 2nd spot. Unfortunately, if we take a small look ahead to the 100 backstroke, they only have 1 top 16 qualifier. So what's going to be really impactful for the Bobcats is how they handle that 200 free relay. Granted, they are going to have Zita Zoki, who just won the 50 free, and so you have to imagine she'll be in that anchor leg. So we're talking a lot about Ohio. We're not going to hear a lot from them in this 100 backstroke, but the opportunity is still there for the Bobcats. They're just going to need a very strong relay to end tonight.
Well, Cassidy DeBetta and Julia Strine on the podium with gold and silvers here for the Ohio Bobcats, and well-earned medals at that. And the break from Ohio swimmers definitely won't last long, because they'll certainly be in the competition, like we mentioned, when we get to the end of the night and get to that relay. They also have one diver who will be in the consolation dives in the 3-meter, and one also in the championships, which will happen on Saturday. So putting themselves in that conversation as well, a conversation which, quite frankly, put the Buffalo Bulls in the lead after yesterday because of their 3 divers that were in that top 8 in the 1-meter.
Yeah, and a quick mention of the diving we'll have to our right here. We talked about Asher Pichardo yesterday. That 1-meter second place is a super impactful reason why they're in the standings right now. She's going to participate in the consolation we're going to see later, but you can't discredit the diving wall. It's called the Max Swim and Dive Championship for a reason. Back to the pool, of course, but I do want to mention the respect the diving well needs to have.
As we get ready for the B final of the 100-yard backstroke, Ava Butterfield from Ball State in lane 1, Felicia Clinton-Marr in lane 2, Angelina Cackles in lane 3, Emily McNichol lane 4, Vivian Roy lane 5, Jenna Halliday lane 6, Krishna Bazudenhoyt in lane 7, and Lilia Newkirk in lane 8. Allowing the suspension to build there a little bit were the officials for the 100-yard backstroke. Highest seeded swimmer was McNichol from Bowling Green, 54.68 after the prelims. Vivian Roy in lane 5 from Buffalo, and Angelina Cackles from Miami, Ohio, flanking her to the right and to the left. Right now in the lead is Felicia Clinton-Marr of Akron in lane 2. Closely behind is McNichol from lane 4.
McNichol's going to use a powerful underwater here, and she's going to break the surface first. She's going to let the tempo of the strokes that she's been pacing to make her get this final wall. You're going to notice that swimmers have a count in their head. They know how many strokes it takes them to hit that wall, and that's what creates that effortless turn. It's going to be the same way we see McNichol here. She knows the amount of strokes she needs.
As they go back to the wall right now, Clinton-Marr in the lead, McNichol trying to push, and in lane 3, Cackles making a push. Into the wall they go, and it looks like Clinton-Marr is going to take it with a 53.94 time. She was the only one sub 54. Cackles is able to make the pass for second, 54.13. McNichol ends third, 54.35. And a testament to Angelina Cackles' stretch there. Her split the best on that second half, 27.41. 27.74 for Clinton-Marr helped her hang on to the lead after the turn.
Well, we said it at the top of the show. Welcome to the MAC, Felicia Clinton-Marr. She didn't participate in any of the relays the Akron Zips put out earlier in the championships, so this morning's 100 fly was her first taste of MACtion, and she finished second to Abby Daniel. So a win in the B final for the 100 back sets her up for a very bright future at Akron.
So in lane 2, another Zip swimmer touches first. And now the parade of finalists for the 100-yard backstroke, led by Mackenzie Reed of Miami, Ohio. 4 seniors across the first 4 lanes, a grad student in lane 5 before 2 sophomores and a junior round out the field. Pool record in the 100-yard backstroke, 52.87, set on this day 5 years ago on February 28th, 2020. The MAC record of 51.59 set by Maddie Gatrall back in 2023. The championship record of 52.03, just 0.04 slower, also set by Gatrall the same year. Mackenzie Reed from the Redhawks, 54.5, her seed time. She'll be in lane 1. She did not have a time inside the top 10 of the pre-prelims going into it, so she has an opportunity here to score some big points for the Red Hawks. However, Rebecca Reed did have the 6th best time of the season so far, which she set on December 7th. She'll be in lane 2 as a senior from Akron, 54.04, her seed time. The experienced swimmer from the Buffalo Bulls in lane 3, finishing 2nd in this event last year, Mia Nacarella, the grad student from Rochester, New York, holds the 100 backstroke school record here at the University at Buffalo.
Nacarella also the last remaining member of that 2021 MAC championship team. She's got the experience to win this one.
She'll be flanked by the highest seeded swimmer in this A final, Maddie Pavich from the Red Hawks, 52.04.
Maddie Pavich got the party started early without us. She broke the pool record in prelims.
Maddie Gatrall, meanwhile, in lane 5, 52.98 seed time. She went 52.01 before the MAC championships back on December 7th, the fastest time of the season in the Mid-American Conference. She'll be in lane 5, and the only Akron Zip at the top side of the pool. Once again, the talented sophomore from the Toledo Rockets, Leah Evans, in lane 6, 53.96, her seed time. And she's going to be a crucial puzzle piece for Toledo going forward. Just to her outside, the swimmer with the 8th best time going into the championships this season, from Miami, Ohio, Ella Ziegert, seeds 54.49, with Allie Schrank from Ohio, the junior, seeding 54.64.
And remember, Vinny, Schrank led off that 200 medley winning relay for Ohio at the start of this meet.
Does Maddie Gatrall have it in her to break her own record? Gatrall, one of 2 grad students, will be in lane 5, the other Nacarella in lane 3. Off the wall and into the water they go. It's the highest seeded swimmer in lane 4. That's Pavich from Miami, Ohio. She is in the lead after the first turn and out of the water first as well. She's got the lead by half a body length.
And Pavich is coming in here. Look how fast she's gonna flip turn here. A rapid rotation. She knows she needs to get into the underwater as quick as possible and let her carry herself across the pool. A little drift here, but she's keeping that pace. She's keeping that stroke. She's leading Gatrall. It's gonna come down to this wall.
That was a great turn by Gatrall as well, because she was in 3rd at the wall. Nacarella was in the 2nd spot after the first 50. As they come back right now, still neck and neck for silver. Pavich right now leading the way back. Nacarella looking to push. Does she get there first? The silver medal to the Buffalo Bull, the gold medal to the Red Hawk, and Maddie Gatrall comes in bronze. 51.52 from Madeline Pavich. A new MAC record, 51.52 for Maddie Pavich.
What a shocker for Maddie Gatrall. When you hear Maddie Gatrall's name, you think backstroke. It was a shocker for us this morning to learn that she wasn't the fastest seeded time. Even more of a shocker, she won't end up as a top 2 final time. A gutsy performance by Mia Nacarella of the Bulls. I mentioned that she's the last swimmer of that 2021 championship team. It seems like she has a little bit more of that magic left in her. Look at the way she comes out of this last one. They're neck and neck in the same stroke pace, but what it comes down to is that Nacarella knows when her final stroke is. She kicks back and launches herself at the wall, and that was enough to beat Maddie Gatrall.
Pavich, the senior from Downers Grove, Illinois, an All-MAC 2nd teamer last year, an All-MAC 1st teamer in 2023. the runner-up in last year's 100 backstroke, and a bronze medal the year prior. Now, finally, at the top of the podium, and a gold medal for Maddie Patovich. The only place she did not finish inside the top 5 in her career so far has been 4th, as her rookie season in the MAC finished 5th in the 100 backstroke and was the 81st fastest ranked swimmer in the NCAA. So Patovich with a big gold medal for Miami, Ohio, and a new Mid-American Conference record in the 100 backstroke. 51.52, her time touching the wall. 52.40 for Mia Nacarella. And that would have been a new pool record had Nacarella touched the wall first. That Patovich is able to hit the triple crown, if you will, knocking out the pool record, the championship record, and the MAC record all in one. Gatrell finishing third, meanwhile, 52.48, which also would have been a new pool record. Ella Ziegert from Miami, Ohio, just outside the medals, 53.76. Rebecca Reed from Akron in 5th, 53.92. Her time with Leah Evans from Toledo, and the talented young swimmer finishing with a 54.14 time, Allie Schrank from Ohio, 54.73. And Mackenzie Reed from Miami, Ohio, rounds out 3 Red Hawk swimmer times, the time of 55.27.
You said it, Vinny. This very well could be the most talented 100 backstroke that has ever been swam in the MAC championships, and it happened here at Alumni Arena. What I don't want lost on this is that all 3 of the top times did make that NCAA B cut. Maddie Gatrell did compete at this event in last year's NCAA championships, and she was so close to being part of that final top 16. She was 17th by almost less than half of a second. So Maddie Gatrell's season isn't done here yet. She's certainly going to make that provisional cut, which makes the moment all that more exciting for me and Nacarella. A provisional B cut as a senior in your home pool.
Once again, Commissioner Steinbrecher presenting the awards and welcoming the swimmers to the podium. Ziegert in 4th. And now a bronze medal being presented to one of the key pieces to Akron's championship runs over the past half decade. Maddie Gatrell with the bronze. Mia Nacarella, I don't think you can say enough about what she's done. Has 4 times the top 10 in Buffalo history and has quite the decorated career. Patovich, a dominant gold medal in what was one of the best 100 back performances as a unit in many years. And a MAC record has fallen, as we expected maybe many of them would do.
It's great, Vinny. All 3 of the top times probably could have been MAC championship winning times in this event. But you love to see Maddie Patovich get that sub 52. And what I think is really important is, I don't know if the fans at home can hear, but they've been shifting the fans around for each section. And lucky enough we are today, the University at Buffalo Bulls fans are right behind us. So you heard a big shout on the broadcast when Mia Nacarella got out. Her name is all over the record board here at Alumni Arena, as well as her sister Tony. So the legacy that the Nacarellas have here cannot be understated. A phenomenal way to end her career.
Absolutely it was. And if you go back to Oxford, Ohio, Maddie Patovich's name all over the record board there, as she is able to knock down another one. Patovich with that performance, all but cements herself as an All-MAC selection this year, which will put her at earning that honor now 3 years in a row, as last year a second-teamer, the year prior an All-MAC first-teamer. 7 of the top 10 times in program history have her name on them, and now she will have her name at the top of the top 10 times in MAC history in the 100 backstroke at the very tippy top. Maddie Padovich, 51-52, a new Mid-American Conference record. Away from the Dorsey Reynolds competition pool as we switch over to the 3-meter diving board and our consolation final here today on the 3-meter board. As we get started here today with Maggie Myers will dive first. Sophia Stam from Akron will be second. Evie Long, Astrid Pichardo, Mallory Hanna, Elise Snyder, Natalia Mayorga Flores, and Vivian Niekamp. The order in which they will dive here for the consolation final in the 3-meter diving championship. And a great start for Maggie Myers from the University at Buffalo.
Strong, rapid tuck. Remember, the tuck is a little unforgiving. You have to exit at the right time. A good exit there by Myers to get us kicked off at the 3-meter.
Next up, Sophia Stam from Akron. And a double forward roll for Stam.
That was a good entry by Stam on that 104B dive. Love the way she squared up right at the end to dip herself into the pool.
Next from Bowling Green, Evie Long, the junior from Middlebury, Indiana, I'm sorry. Putting herself temporarily at the top of the scoreboard. Still 5 divers left to go here this round, as we will see the runner-up in the 1-meter from yesterday, Astrid Pichardo from Ohio, looking at a forward 2.5 somersault pike. And a good start from Pichardo as well. As you mentioned it yesterday as well, Michael, and ultimately this is going to be a little bit more show here from the 3-meter because you have more time to include more dynamics here in these higher elevation dives, and ultimately the board getting you even higher in the air here and more time to do a couple more maneuvers.
That's exactly right, Vinny. And we're going to see from Hannah here a back dive, but what I want to see later is when we get into the hurdle steps. That's when you're really going to see the height that allows you to add these complex maneuvers into your dives.
Hannah, who was also a medal earner yesterday in the 1-meter. Her back 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twist free. Will lead her off before Elise Snyder, who was the 3rd highest scored diver after the prelims in this consolation final. Snyder, a little bit more of a splash than she wanted, but her reverse 2.5 somersault tuck, a good start.
And Snyder knew she needed the height. If she was going to be able to hit that reverse, she had to give herself the legroom to do it. Maybe not the greatest entry, but she had to risk that height. When it comes down to this level, it's all about high risk, high reward.
Back-to-back Bowling Green divers here. Natalia Mayorga Flores, who did not have the day she wanted at the 1-meter, starts off very well here in the 3-meter consolation final. She leapfrogs to the top of the board.
And you like to see that from Mayorga Flores. She had a tough time at the 1 meter yesterday, but getting things started with an invert dive that was executed very well is a great way to build confidence. I'm curious to see what her next 5 dives look like.
Vivian Eikamp from Miami. An inward 2.5 somersault tuck. Puts herself in the top 3 after round number 1.
Mayorga Flores and Nikon both executed the exact same inward 2.5 somersault, and I thought both were phenomenal. They came out of the tuck at the right time to hit the water cleanly.
Back to the top for Maggie Mayers. A forward 2.5 somersault pike. Sat in the top 3 after the first round. Will keep herself there after a good dive and leading off round 2.
And what's really important about these forward pike dives is the ability to bend at the hip. You don't want to go too far forward and over-rotate. Myers had a good job on that one.
Sophia Stam not able to execute that one the way she wanted. She starts off back, and you see just a little over-rotated as she gets into the water.
Yeah, that's the difference between that back pike and that front pike. When you're on the back pike, you really have to have full confidence in your muscle memory.
Evie Long from Bowling Green. Another forward 2.5 somersault pike. Well executed as well before Pichardo back on the board now. Got out of her tuck a little late, I think, but ultimately good work from Pichardo, who emerges from the water here, looking to get some more points for the Bobcats after now 2 events in a row, only 1 student athlete in competition here for the Bobcats.
And Pichardo had a great day for the Bobcats in the 1 meter. She came in at 6th, but jumped all the way up to 2nd. This is a consolation final, but it's still impactful for all those points.
Mallory Hanna and her calculated approach puts an average score of about 6 on the board for Hanna. Now Elise Snyder from Bowling Green. Back 2.5 somersault tuck for Snyder, who will put 6.5s on the board and likely keep herself just above Hanna in the scoring, at least for the time being.
And that was a very impressive rapid tuck. Speed means nothing without a clean entry, and Snyder had a good one there.
And now Mayorga with 6.5s on the board as well. She'll cycle back up to the top of the scoreboard. And Vivian Nykamp from Miami, Ohio, with a forward 2.5 somersault pike with 6s on the board. 2 5.5s for her as well, as after round 2, Nykamp and Mayorga sitting atop the board. Maggie Mayers from Buffalo getting herself started here. as her back 2.5 somersault tuck goes with a little more splash than I think she would have liked. You'll see another on this replay here, a little more over rotation as she gets into the water.
I think the way that her legs came back, I think she was not enough body control in midair, and the judges aren't going to like that splash. Too much white water.
So after those 2 rounds, Mayorga, Snyder, and Niekamp sitting atop with 2 Bowling Green Falcons leading the scoring. Stam looking to jump ahead as she sat in 8th after that first round. And now Evie Long from Bowling Green, who's sitting in the 4th position as of right now, will also again start with an inward 2.5 somersault tuck. And another well-executed dive will put some 6.5s on the board as well, and she will maintain her position inside the top 5.
And you have to remember, Vinny, when you're on those inward, especially those 2.5s, you have to have control of where you launch and when you start your move. You can't start too quickly or risk over-rotating. Long had great fundamentals on that one.
Pichardo, the sophomore from Guanajuato, Mexico, finished 11th in this event last year. Puts a forward 2.5 somersault, 1 twist pike on the board, and a couple of 6.5s on the board will put her also right back in the top 4.
And you just saw the replay on that. A bold decision on that dive from Pichardo. Her hurdle step is what gave her the momentum to do all the things she wanted in that dive.
Mallory Hanna, the junior from Loveland, Ohio. Another dive where she hits the water a little more over-rotated than she would have liked, but 5s on the board for Hanna, who finished 20th at the NCAA Zone Diving Championships in the 3-meter last year. Her best scores going into the week were almost equal in the 1-meter and the 3-meter, with a 280.6 in the 1-meter and a 280.8 in the 3. Ellie Snyder from Bowling Green. Another entry that sees 4.5s and 5s on for a little more splash with the feet hitting the water. Not quite straight up in the air, a little more splash there.
Yeah, the mid-air execution wasn't there. A little looser form, and the judges are going to reflect that.
The sophomore, Natalia Mayorga, from Leon, Mexico, won the 3-meter competition 3 times this season in duels, and ended this event in 2024 in the 4th position. And a very nice looking dive there from Vivian Niekamp, who goes the forward 1.5 somersault, 2 twist free. And that will likely put her up in the top position after 3 rounds of 3-meter diving here at the 2025 MAC Championships. 3 rounds to go. And halfway through, Pichardo, Niekamp, and Mayorga sitting at the top of the scoreboard as Maggie Mayers with her 4th dive. And the young diver puts 5.5s on the board here.
And what's great about Mayers' dive, on that 305C reverse, you have to have confidence in yourself to finally, at your peak, go backwards and go into that tuck. Great timing there.
Stam able to maintain that patience in the air on her reverse 1.5 somersault pike. Evie Long once more.
Wow. A 523D is not an easy back dive to complete. But Evie Long made that one look simple. Remember, you have to be competitive in where you put in place your more competitive dives. That's a great momentum swinger for Long.
And Evie Long, not really one of the higher scoring 3-meter divers on a stout Bowling Green diving unit this season. However, in 1-meter competition, she did have 7 top 5 finishes in the 2023-2024 campaign. And here today, she's putting herself at the top of the consolation final board in the 3-meter. And again, that just goes to show the depth of this Falcons program.
Great entry there from Pichardo. We saw her yesterday in the 1-meter where she took second place through her technical prowess. She approaches the board this time with only a 405C inward 2.5 somersault tuck. Maybe more simple of a dive you'd like to see at this stage of the game, but she executed it flawlessly.
Now Mallory Hanna back up on the board here for the 4th time. Another calculated entry for the Buffalo junior. And a well-executed reverse 2.5 somersault tuck for Mallory Hanna. And Elise Snyder once more. Grad student from DeWitt, Michigan. Did not compete last season, but did finish the 2023 MAC Championships in 6th place in this event. Her best score going into today, a 307.35 on the 3-meter board.
Textbook entry there from Mayorga Flores. And remember, Vinny, it was around this time in the 1-meter that she had that dive that didn't quite go away and she had to bail out of. So the mental toughness for her to come back on the 3-meter and execute the way she has early is very impressive from the Bowling Green Falcon.
And Mayorga right now is the highest scored diver through 4.5 rounds so far. And for Niekamp, not exactly what she needed to try to close that gap to Mayorga. You see as she enters the water there, for the first time maybe today, a little under-rotated.
Yeah, not the ideal takeoff here. You're exactly right, Vinny. The under-rotation, she never got squared up, and she wasn't able to pinpoint her entry point into the water.
Maggie Myers, the sophomore from Fort Worth, Texas, back on now for dive number 5. And Myers will do well with her first dive of this 5th round to continue climbing the board after finishing 6th after round number 4. A couple of 6s on the board here for Myers, the sophomore.
And Myers knows that coming into this consolation, she needs to have a set of complex dives towards the end. Very good execution on one of her more complex dives of the night.
Last year, she finished 5th in the 3-meter consolation finals, trying to improve on that position here today. Sophia Stam will try to prevent her from doing that, as a inward 2.5 somersault tuck for Stam.
I like the way Stam got into and out of that rotation. It was only ending up being a 2.5 somersault, but you have to be able to get into it and out of it quickly. Very good execution from Stam there.
Evie Long, well-controlled splash getting in the water, and a back 1.5 somersault tuck will move her up the board.
You just saw the hesitation on the replay there. She knew exactly where in her rotation she needed to get out of that and pinpoint her entry point into the water. Very good hesitation there by Long.
Evie Long, only the 28th best 3-meter score going into the prelims this morning. Right now, she has herself overall inside the top 10, or at least will after the scores recycle after this 5th round.
She's earned the right to be here today, Vinny.
Pichardo from Ohio. Another inward dive. That one, a 2.5 somersault tuck that had maybe a bit more splash on the entry than she would have liked. But Pichardo inside the top 4 as these rounds wean down. Mallory Hanna back up now for the Bulls. Well done by Mallory Hanna, and she will be rewarded by the judges here. Maybe by not as much as it looked because of the controlled splash, but the forward 1.5 somersault 2 twist free for Hanna, now followed up by Elise Snyder from the Falcons. And 6 is on the board for Elise Snyder from Bowling Green.
Great execution and control in midair. I didn't think she got the takeoff she wanted on that dive, but you certainly wouldn't have thought that once you saw the way she controlled her body in midair and executed it flawlessly.
The 2-time MAC Diver of the Week this year, Natalia Mayorga. She enters with a reverse 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twist free. And again, rockets right back to the top of the leaderboard with just Vivian Nijkamp left to go here in round 5.
Vivian Nijkamp with 2 back-to-back dives that might not be up to her standard. She's going to need a really strong final dive to finish this one off.
Nijkamp, the senior out of New Bremen, Ohio, finished 28th in the 3-meter in this event last year. Opportunity here to finish significantly better than that, but like you mentioned, last round, a dive that she did not enter the way she wanted. That time, scores that are averaging around what in this consolation final has been pretty consistent, but ultimately, especially based on our prelim scores, she knows that she needs to maximize round 6 dive. But before we get there, we'll start things back up with Maggie Myers. Myers sitting in 5th after 5 rounds. Myers is back, 1.5 somersault straight.
We haven't seen a whole lot of straight dives today, but with the straight dive, there's no room for error. I really like the way Myers approached that. Like I said, no room for error. Everything has to be straight and perfect when you attempt a straight dive.
Now for Sophia Stam, whose next dive more difficult with a back 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twist free, will likely elevate Stam from a spot. It's currently in 8th right now for Stam after a round 3 that maybe did not go her way. Now good extension from Evie Long from Bowling Green. Long sitting in the 5th spot before the scores recycled after that 5th round. And 6s on the board here for Evie Long, as the junior from Indiana going to put herself inside the top 10 for the first time in her career in the 3-meter board here at the MAC Championships. Astrid Pichardo, her 6th dive will be her lowest scored of this round. And the diver currently sitting in 3rd will not see that execution go the way she wanted to. The sophomore, though, plenty of more opportunities to do it, as she's going to have a successful career in the MAC for a long time. 306.60 was her best score going into today. Her potential through the roof here for the 2nd-year diver of Guanajuato, Mexico.
I like the precision you see there from Mallory Hanna. She knows that this last dive has to be her best one. The precision and the real test of courage of that the inward dive takes, it's a bold move to make that your 6th and final dive.
The junior from Ohio looking to improve on her finish last year, where she was not in the top 16 in this event. And Snyder from Bowling Green looking to do the same. Snyder, like we mentioned, the grad student, did not compete last year, but was the 6th best scored diver in 2023 in this event. Snyder will go back up to the top of the board here. However, her teammate, Natalia Mayorga, has led throughout the majority of this consolation final in the 3-meter. And Mayorga ends it with a bang, and 6.5's the average score for Natalia Mayorga.
That should just about do it for her.
The sophomore from Leon, Mexico, a 3-time 3-meter winner during the regular season. And now, Vivian Nijkamp, the highest seeded diver in the 3-meter in these consolation finals. Her last dive of the night. And for Nijkamp, ends on a strong one. A back 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twist free. Will look to put her back up towards the top 3. A difficult dive at that. And a score that could multiply and put her in that conversation as we get the final unofficial scores here from the officials here inside the Alumni Arena Natatorium. And as we saw, Natalia Mayorga Flores with a good showing in all 6 opportunities. She will end with the best score, 284.2 for the sophomore from Bowling Green. Her teammate, Elise Snyder, will take the silver medal, 259.45 in the consolation final. Mallory Hanna will be 3rd best in this consolation final, a 258 flat dive. Maggie Myers from Buffalo improves on her position from last year, and the sophomore has the Bulls go back-to-back in positions 3 and 4. Abby Long from Bowling Green ends 5th. Astrid Pichardo in the 6th spot. Vivian Nijkamp 7th, and Sophia Stam rounding out the field in the consolation final in the 3-meter dive. And so ultimately now, we've had the majority of tonight's events through as we welcome you back to our booth here inside the Alumni Arena Natatorium. Again, I'm Vinny Cristiano III alongside Michael Loss. And Michael, we've seen a stretch of the Ohio Bobcats here today where they won multiple events in a row, got some gold medals. We now see, after a consolation final on the diving board, a little bit of a preview of what we might see on Saturday. Bowling Green getting some important points here as well. How do you see the Falcons playing in to how the rest of this meet will lay out?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that you love a good redemption story. We all saw Natalia Mayorga Flores' 1-meter where she didn't have the day she wanted. She had a dive that she had to just take off and never got the start she wanted to. So to see her go in the consolation finals today and get that 9th place finish, that's good points for the Falcons. When it comes down to Ohio, you would have liked to see Pichardo build on that 1-meter performance she had. We talked about opportunity. There's no team hotter in this championship right now than the Ohio Bobcats, and every point matters, even the points in the diving world consolation finals.
And they have good opportunities to do so coming up. We have another relay, which of course one of the most talented swimmers in Zita Zoki coming up here in just a couple moments back inside the Dorsey Reynolds competition pool as we take a look at our day 3 schedule as things are ready to wind down here as our 200 freestyle relay ready to hit the pool here for the championship final, and ultimately the 200 free relay will wrap things up and put a bow on day 3 before an exciting day tomorrow, day 4, the last day of these 2025 Mid-American Conference Swimming and Diving Championships. It's crazy to think that it's already, I'll call it almost over. Plenty of action left to go though tomorrow, but ultimately I remember when I found out that I was going to have an opportunity to be here and be a part of this here live on GetSomeAction.com and live on YouTube. I was elated, and ultimately it seemed like the end of February couldn't come soon enough. And here we are now, the last day of February, and the last day of the MAC Championships is tomorrow, the first day of March. Unbelievable that it's gone by so quickly, and ultimately it has lived up to the hype, I think, especially when we think back to some of those highlights that have happened, including Kelly and Zoki tying and ultimately being co-champions in the 50 free. We expect to see both of them here in what should be a very exciting 200 free relay.
Well, what isn't there to be excited about? We came in today knowing that Ohio had the opportunity to take a couple events in a row. But what's super impactful is in the events that they didn't have strong swimmers in, like the 100 backstroke, Maddie Gautral only finished 3rd. That's huge for the Ohio Bobcats' chances at this championship. We're taking a look at the early prelims times for the 200 free relay. The Ohio Bobcats only come in at about 8th, so they're going to need a very strong performance. They come in at 8th, but they come in at 8th with the Miami Redhawks and Akron Zips owning most of those times 1 through 7 in different combinations. So there's a very good chance that the Ohio Bobcats can get a podium finish here, which they're going to need if they're going to have a strong final day of the MAC Championships. And you're right, Vinny, it has flown by so quickly. Yesterday, on day 1, first day, we only had a couple relays, and we got to have a good feel for what the coaches were going to roll out in terms of strategy and versatile relays like the medley, but we also got to see the depth. We got to see the 800 free where we got to see what swimmers are able to do length. Yesterday was a super fun day. Our 3 individual events, which were all super different in nature, all 3 of them were a treat. And you're right, that Zita Zoki performance in the 50 free where she tied Peyton Kelly is probably going to end up going down in MAC history. But what's going to go down in more MAC history is how they build off the events they've had today. We talked about the events that they swept today with the IM, 200 free, and the 100-yard breaststroke. They're going to need a big 200 free relay to wrap this one up on day 3 of the MAC Championships.
And as we get ready to wrap up day 3, a preview of what should be, of course, an exciting day 4. We're going to be live at 5:45 p.m. tomorrow, so make sure to tune in a couple minutes earlier than previously planned because we have the senior recognitions and the presentation of the Outstanding Senior Award, a well-deserved award and one that I know that is highly anticipated here in the Mid-American Conference. In the last few years, the most outstanding award, the most outstanding senior award has been presented to Hannah Raspopovich from Akron in 2016, Lucas Sinzal of Akron in 2017, Pei Lin of Miami in 2018, Delaney Duncan of Eastern Michigan in 2019, Talissa Lemke of Bowling Green in 2020, Brittany Beecher of Buffalo wins it in 2021 with Sarah Watson from Akron in 2022, Tony Nacarella from UB in 2023, and Nicole Mayer from Miami, Ohio last year in 2024.
And you know, Vinny, I said it in the first open we did on day 1, but what's so impactful about conference championship season is being a senior and getting to swim in your final career events. Not every senior is going to make an NCAA cut this year, so there's a very real chance that a lot of the seniors swimming today is their last time in the pool ever. This is a sport they've played for years, and this gets to be some of their last races. You know the emotion's high, and it might not set in until that final relay pickup, but this meet should be all about the seniors. I'm super excited to see the senior recognition tomorrow at 5:45.
An opportunity maybe for Ohio. A team not named Akron or Buffalo has not won the 200 freestyle relay since the Bobcats back in 2011. Very different look program now, and quite frankly, one of the most talented swimmers in the conference, likely going to be anchoring this relay team as we welcome the teams out onto the deck here for the last event of the night. This season, of 200 freestyle relay top times. Akron has the top 2. Miami, Ohio has the next 3, with Akron having the 6th and 7th best time. It is the Bobcats who have the 8th best time. Ball State with 9th best. The Zips have another top 10 entry with a different combination. Swimmers, again, a testament to their depth, before the Buffalo Bulls rounding out with a time led by Nia Nacarella there in the 2nd spot, and the talented youngster and Forsman anchoring things. That was a time set by the Bulls back on December 7th. As they look to win this event again for the first time since 2021.
And what you love to see about these pre-prelim times is how many different combinations these teams get to run with. Not every swimmer can be a fast sprinter, but if you have enough 50 free sprinters, you can really experiment the way Akron has. The amount of different combinations are really fascinating. Obviously they have a time that taps in at 1:30, but I'm curious to see what they end up running with here.
In the 200 freestyle relay, in lane 1, Bowling Green sees a time of 1:33.67. Buffalo in lane 2, 1:32.2. Ohio will be in lane 3, 1:31.53. Akron, the favorites, will be in lane 4, of course, with a time of 1:30.11. Miami, Ohio in lane 5, 1:30.9. Ball State will be in lane 6, 1:31.95, with Toledo 1:33.1, and Eastern Michigan riding out the field in lane 8 with a seed time of 1:33.82.
Now, Vinny, I wouldn't be surprised if both Ohio and Ball State run their 50 free champions in the anchor spot. Keep in mind, you get an unofficial 50-yard time if you take any time that's not the leadoff time. And the reason why that is because you get a little bit faster of a time when you're on a relay pickup. If this race is close at the end of it, I'd be looking at lanes 3 and 6. That's where the 50 free champs from this season happen. I wouldn't be surprised if they take over late in this one.
This is another race that's going to be over before you know it, as all those times that I just alluded to, all within about 90 seconds. So not going to be a ton of time to make up ground if you end up behind, but ultimately it just shows the testament of speed as well that some of these anchor legs are going to be able to use. Akron looking to defend their title and their championship in the 200 free relay from lane 4, flanked by Ohio and Miami. And in the water they go.
Now remember, Vinny, relay pickups are important in every relay, but with one that goes by as quick as this, hundredths of a second are important on these relay pickups. Watch the swimmers when they get towards the wall. They're going to follow the shoulders. They know when the last stroke is coming. These are super important.
Ada Swabinska leading things off for Akron. She's underwater the longest. And 22:39, the split for the Zips. Indeed it is. They lead 22:35. Ohio actually in the lead after the first leg. At the wall, making the turn. And neck are the Redhawks and the Zips. Making this a good one. Peyton Kelly waiting in the wings, but before they get to her, it's going to be Ziegert first.
Ohio lost a little bit on that last relay pickup. Akron came up earlier than them, and they're going to be able to swing this one into the final 50.
Here comes Ohio, still trying to make up ground. Akron in the lead in lane 4, setting things up for Trainer. In the water, second will be Ohio. Miami, Ohio in a close fourth is Ball State right now, hanging on to that third spot. Last turn, Trainer leads the pack back to the wall. Lanes 3 and 5 now neck and neck as Ohio looking to make the pass on Ball State. Akron will defend their title in the 200 free relay, and to the wall, Ohio Zidozoki, 23:09, finishes the Bobcats in second.
Pool record set by the Akron Zips, breaking their own record from 2020. Talking about not rebuilding and reloading, the Akron Zips have done that here again. 4 different girls, 4 different times, another pool record.
Feel like a broken record saying that so many times here today, but ultimately that was to be expected when you bring the talent that the Max Swimming and Diving Championships brings into a natatorium. those more local pool records are more likely to fall than not, and we have seen a fair share of them knocked down already today, with plenty more at risk of falling again tomorrow. A reminder, we'll be live at 5:45 p.m. tomorrow for the finals on the final day of the 2024-2025 Mid-American Conference Swimming and Diving Championships. And then we will kick things off with the longest event of the day, the consolation and championship heat of the 1650 free, as we will have 8 swimmers at approximately 6:10 p.m. hit the pool for the mile, and ultimately a long but exciting event that should be. And then we'll follow that up with the 200-yard backstroke, the 100-yard freestyle, another one of those events that we'll see Zita Zoki, we'll see Peyton Kelly, and we'll see some fast splits for these teams. They just have to go down and back twice before the 200-yard breaststroke and the 200-yard butterfly bookend the front half of the 3-meter diving finals. And then, of course, the always exciting 400 free relay concludes the 2025 Max Swimming and Diving Championships. And then the awards ceremony will crown a winner, and the standings finalized just before an estimated time of 9 p.m. So a full night of Max Swimming and Diving tomorrow evening, and we hope you'll join us back here on GetSomeMaction.com and on YouTube from the Natatorium at Alumni Arena on the campus of the University at Buffalo. Toledo, anchored by Leah Evans. He's sure to be someone who's on the top side of that podium more often than not in her career. In the 8th spot here today, Bowling Green's team finishes 133.81. They will end in the 7th spot. Eastern Michigan in the 6th position. Not the only Eastern Michigan team that'll be here in Amherst, New York this weekend is the women's basketball team in action here tomorrow at 2 p.m. on the other side of Alumni Arena as they take on the powerhouse UB Bulls women's basketball team in a different MAC competition. Their conference tournament merely days away at this point, and a little over a week left in the regular season there. So an all-important matchup happening on the hardwood, and here in the pool, the UB Bulls in the 5th spot in the 200 free relay and with a time of 1:32.40.
A very exciting day tomorrow here at Alumni Arena. If you're listening but plan on coming tomorrow, make sure you get your parking spot early. A doubleheader of basketball on top of the final day of MAC Championships is sure to be a fun one.
Both men's and women's basketball teams in action for the Bulls. And while I don't necessarily want to take viewers away from what should be another exciting sporting event, I will implore everyone to turn your attention here to the last day of the Max Swimming and Diving Championships here on YouTube and GetSomeAction.com, because ultimately, again, it's sure to be a good one. As bronze medals awarded to the Red Hawks of Miami, Ohio, 1:30.47 their time. Just under 2/10 behind Ohio and the Bobcats, who go 1:30.28. Which sets a new season best for them. And Akron's time of 1:28.62 also sits atop the 2024-2025 season rankings for the Zips. Akron won the last 4 and have won 3 consecutive MAC titles, looking for their 4th to be given to them tomorrow night around the same time. Had 12 total All-MAC selections in 2024. And the 4 swimmers at the top of the podium right now, also strong candidates to get their names on those lists at the end of the day tomorrow. So Commissioner Steinbrecher posing with the podium teams in the 200 free relay. And everyone celebrating another strongly contested event as we wrap up the 3rd day of this week's festivities here. And ultimately, a great day it was. Ultimately, again, we're now looking at the final standings with Akron on top and Ohio jumping 2 spots, putting themselves in 2nd now. The Red Hawks right now in that 3rd position, 376 points even. So 504 right now for Akron, their total. Ohio 424.5, that half a point from the co-championships with Ball State. Now ultimately, Red Hawks in 3rd, Buffalo in 4th, Ball State in 5th with 211.5, Bowling Green in 6th with 155, Eastern Michigan with 142 in 7th, and Toledo with 131 even will round out the top 8 of the standings as, again, now day 3 wrapped up and one more day worth of events left to go as the Zips look for their 4th consecutive MAC championship. They've already won 10 of the last 11, and ultimately their dynasty sometimes speaks for itself. Today, though, you've mentioned a couple times Ohio with a strong push. What do you expect to see out of the Bobcats in tomorrow's events again as we go live at 5:45 p.m. with the senior recognition, outstanding senior award ceremony, and after that, the 1650 free?
Well, what people have to remember is that the only team that's been able to beat this Akron dynasty in the 2021 Bulls did it in the last event of the championships. That 400 freestyle relay where they edged out the Zips by about 1 second is what it came down to. Ohio has another opportunity tomorrow. They have a couple events that they're predicted to be the fastest seed in. It's really going to come down to the final here.
The final event, the 400 freestyle relay, expected tomorrow just before 9 p.m. and the award ceremony to follow. But before that, plenty of events to go. We'll be live at 5:45 p.m. with the senior recognition and the outstanding senior award before the mile, the 200 backstroke, the 100 freestyle, the 200 breaststroke, the 200-yard butterfly, and the 3-meter diving, capped off with the 400 free relay. Akron wins the last relay of the day. The 200-yard free goes to the Zips, and right now they sit atop the standings after 3 days. Join us for day 4 again on YouTube and on GetSomeMaction.com. For Michael Loss, just to my right for Matt Wolf, and on every other broadcast position, I've been Vinny Cristiano III. We'll see you tomorrow.